Welcome back to our live video trading series. Well, the patient is not looking good. If this were a patient's EKG, I think I would be taking out the shock paddles right now. This is the micro payment sector and its performance since the beginning of this year. And you can see Bitcoin Cash in turquoise, Litecoin in yellow, Dash in purple, and Bitcoin in blue. All, it looks like they're, like I said, if this were a patient, it looks like they're dying a slow death. So the question on a lot of people's minds is cryptocurrency dying a slow death? Will it go away? What's happening? What exactly is happening here? If you look at the market overview on Coin Checkup, you can see even though the 90-day numbers still look good, 30-day numbers are pretty devastating. Bitcoin down 51%, Cash down 62%, IOTA down 64%. Let's see, Quantum down 63%, Bitcoin Gold down 68%, Verge down 69%, Digibyte down 70%. So these numbers are pretty dramatic, and a lot of people are wondering, is this it? Is this the end? Is cryptocurrency dying a slow death? The answer is no. And that is not just because I don't want it to die, it's because I can give you a research-based argument for why cryptocurrency will never die. So this is my why cryptocurrency will never die. 1. Cryptocurrency for the first time establishes ownership of digital assets. Now, some of these points were emphasized at the North American Bitcoin Conference in Miami, and some of this comes from Craig Sellers' talk, so I do recommend that you check out YouTube. Craig Sellers, the Tether co-founder, who gave an amazing talk at the North American Bitcoin Conference. But ownership of digital assets. So cryptocurrency is not just a new way to pay. It's not just like another credit card or another type of money transfer or even a new asset class. It's actually conceptually a completely new technology. Okay, blockchain all of a sudden created the ability to assign ownership of digital assets. Now, it's not a new concept for us that ownership of something intangible that you can't hold in your hand, that you can't store in a safe, is possible. Take, for example, digital music. Take, for example, a song, a poem, an idea, okay, trademark, copyright, a concept. These are things that we are used to the fact that they can be owned, and we do assign ownership to them, but digitally, there was no way to definitively assign that ownership until blockchain. And how it works is very simple. You are the legitimate owner of the end of a chain of transactions that, and you can prove that mathematically, that you are the only legit owner, the only verifiable, legitimate owner of the end of a chain of transactions. And that's how you establish ownership on a blockchain. So, for example, bitcoins don't exist. You can't hold a bitcoin in your hand, and you'll never have a stack of bitcoins, and you'll never have a balance of bitcoins. All you'll have is proof of ownership of the end of address chains that transfer ownership from one person to another. So this private key that only you have unlocks the public key that holds the end of a chain of addresses. And that's what ownership is on the blockchain. So don't confuse it with the actual blockchain itself. Okay, the chain of ownership, the transaction chain, is a bunch of transactions, some of which may be floating out in this unconfirmed and unordered cloud until a miner takes them and bundles them into a block and then seals the block and locks it in place in the blockchain using cryptographic math. Once that's done, anybody, any computer can confirm mathematically, purely mathematically, that those transactions are valid. And that's how you can be the only legit owner of the end of a chain of transactions that's woven throughout the blockchain. And that's how digital ownership is established. And like I said, it's verifiable by mathematics alone. So this is a graphic that shows how transactions weave through the blockchain. So these coins are going from block to block as transactions occur using those coins. But those coins can be traced all the way back to their origin. And this is a example of, this is just a really nice graphic, a really fascinating graphic from the Japanese firm WizSec, the security firm that investigated the Mt. Gox hack. And what it shows is that coins, individual coins and bundles of coins, can be traced through the blockchain from public address to public address. Even if you don't know who these people are, you can trace the origin of each and every coin. And that's how, in the same way, ownership on the blockchain is established. But this allowed the security firm to nab one of the guys who was involved in that Mt. Gox theft. So, for example, this shows here that some of those coins being transferred to address B1. So you don't know who B1 is, what their identity is, but then they're transferred to E1, and then from E1 they went here. Some of them went back to Mt. Gox, and then following the coins through those accounts gave investigators an edge in trying to figure out who was responsible for that theft. So, number one, ownership of digital assets. Cryptocurrency establishes ownership of digital assets for the first time. And what that means is anything that can be digitized can be owned and confirmed, verifiable on a blockchain. And that is the technology of cryptocurrency. Now, the next important aspect is digital scarcity. Okay, now scarcity, you can copy a dollar bill. You can copy $100 bill. Okay, you can copy it as many times as you want. And when you copy it, you have two $100 bills. And then you copy it again, both of them again, you have four $100 bills. So dollar bills can be copied. Bitcoin cannot be copied. Okay, and the reason for that is that if you make a copy of a Bitcoin, what you're copying is the chain of addresses, the chain of transactions and public addresses to which those coins are, from which and to which those coins are transferred. So when you make a copy of a Bitcoin, it's the same Bitcoin. It's not another Bitcoin. So you cannot copy it for the simple fact that copying a Bitcoin is just copying a chain of transactions, and that chain of transactions exists on the blockchain at every node on the blockchain. All throughout, it's distributed completely throughout the blockchain. So that transaction chain, or that Bitcoin, is, you can make a copy of it, you can make 1 million copies of it, but those are not additional Bitcoins. They're the same Bitcoin because they're the same chain of addresses of transfer of ownership of those Bitcoins woven through the blockchain. So that scarcity aspect, digital scarcity, was also something that never existed prior to cryptocurrency, prior to blockchain technology. Now, because there was no digital scarcity, anything that was digital, like, for example, MP3s. Remember when MP3s first came out and music could be infinitely duplicated? Well, that was a problem because people just copied other people's music and they didn't buy it. When you no longer needed to buy a record or a CD in order to own the music, then it no longer it lost its value. And digital scarcity is reestablished by cryptocurrency, and that reestablishes its inherent value. So the assigning ownership and enforcing scarcity is the second key to cryptocurrency technology. Now, remember that the ownership is established by establishing using your private key that you are the sole legit verifiable owner of the end of a chain of transactions. And that chain of transactions, like I said, is what a Bitcoin is or what any digital asset is on the blockchain. Not like a $100 bill, which when you copy a $100 bill, you have two $100 bills. When you copy a digital asset, you still have just one digital asset. And since it's distributed throughout the blockchain, there are already millions of copies of it distributed throughout the blockchain, but that unique chain of addresses, that unique linked chain of addresses, which are linked by encrypted transactions, is unique because it's the only one of its kind. And no matter how many copies of it are on the blockchain, or no matter how many copies of it are off the blockchain, it's still the same digital asset. So, digital ownership, digital scarcity. Okay, economics 101. That's where value comes from. Scarcity and utility. Now, the utility goes beyond the digital ownership concept, and this is where people get confused because a lot of people, especially a lot of naysayers, want to say that the utility of a cryptocurrency is only in its use cases or in its uh, essential utility value. So, what can the coin be used for? And its adoption. Okay, so people talk about the adoption of Bitcoin, the adoption of Bitcoin Cash. Okay, can you buy a coffee at Starbucks with it? Can you transfer money to Finland with it? Those are the utility values of the currency. But it goes beyond that because cryptocurrency provides a very important service. And this was a point that was emphasized by Jeffrey Tucker in his talk at the North American Bitcoin Conference in Miami. It's another great talk and one I recommend. Check out, just go to YouTube, Jeffrey Tucker, North American Bitcoin Conference, and you'll find that talk. But he said this was never possible before, that a currency and a payment system were united into one single thing. So the actual currency and the system used to pay is the same thing. So think about that for a minute. Bitcoin does not exist independently of the payment system of Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is both a currency and a payment system. Now, to illustrate that better, example, again, $100 bill. The $100 bill is the currency, and the payment system would be the bank, the credit card, the physical transfer of the paper, cash, whatever it might be. So the currency and the payment system are separate. Okay, same thing with gold. The currency is gold, and the payment system, if you could spend the gold, is going to be how the gold is transferred to its recipient. So all those things are currencies or stores of value only, but cryptocurrency is both a currency and a store of value and a payment system. Now, the reason for that, again, is the exact same thing we were talking about before. A Bitcoin is not a physical object. It's not something you can hold in your hand. You cannot have a stack of Bitcoins, and you cannot have a safe full of Bitcoins. Okay, the Bitcoin, each Bitcoin is, and each cryptocurrency, we're just using Bitcoin as an example, is a chain of transactions whereby one owner transfers those Bitcoin to the second owner with a private key and transfers them to the second owner's public key. And that chain of transactions woven through the blockchain is what a Bitcoin is. So those transactions as they as they become confirmed and verified within the blockchain, those transactions woven through the blockchain establish the chain of custody of those coins. And that's what the coins are. So the Bitcoin or the cryptocurrency is not just the currency, but it's also the payment system. Another way of saying this is the medium is the method. To paraphrase Marshall McLuhan, I guess, the medium is the method. So the medium for exchange is the same as the method for exchange. And that is an important service that has value, that has utility value beyond simply the adoption of the coin or being able to use it at Starbucks or being able to use it to transfer money. It's actually provides a service, and that service is providing the both the medium and the method for transfer. Okay, uniting a currency and payment system. And once again, this, if you want to look at more detail on this, Jeffrey Tucker's talk at the North American Bitcoin Conference in Miami was awesome. So I highly recommend it. But there's a lot of naysayers out there who want to say that Bitcoin has no intrinsic value, and that is sort of the typical argument that you see whenever you hear a doomsayer on TV, whenever you hear a Deputy Downer of Doom talking about cryptocurrency. But the truth is that this is from Tom Lee of Fundstrat, well-known analyst and cryptocurrency enthusiast, and he says that Bitcoin is no different from any other company that is primarily digital businesses that are built almost purely on digital trust. So remember that currency involves, and that's from Tom Lee from Fundstrat, and that was on CNBC. Remember that currency really only has value for two reasons. One is the government says it has value, and two is the people who are spending it trust that the government's statement that it has value is true. So currency itself is based on trust as well. So just remember that, and these three reasons why Bitcoin will never go away. One is it establishes digital ownership. Two, it establishes digital scarcity. And both of those are done for the first time by this new technology, never been accomplished before. There's never been a way to absolutely securely verify that you are the legitimate and sole owner of a digital asset which is represented as a chain of transactions woven throughout the blockchain. And that is almost impossible to counterfeit, tamper with, alter, or change in any way. And the third reason is that there is actual utility value in the service that cryptocurrency provides, which is the combination of the currency and the payment system into a single entity. And when currency and payment system, the medium is the method, are a single entity, that actually provides utility for the cryptocurrency beyond simply its adoption, the ability to spend it at Starbucks or use it to transfer money to the Netherlands or whatever you're using it for. So Econ 101 says that scarcity and utility are the only two boxes that need to be checked in order to establish value. So for all those doomsayers, for all those naysayers who want to say that cryptocurrency is dying because it has no value, it's dying a slow death, these are the three reasons why they are wrong. So I hope this video has given you some powerful, useful information that you can put to work to make better, more informed, more research-based cryptocurrency investment decisions. Ciao for now.